Fab. Okay, hello everybody.
Hiya.
So thank you very much, Hannah, for doing this. Hannah's going to be showing us how to fix jewellery today, which is fabulous. Hannah, I know you've volunteered a few times, well, a lot actually, over the years at repair cafes in Cathays and Splot, fixing jewellery for our lovely visitors. So do you want to just give us a quick overview about how you ended up getting into fixing jewellery? And I know you do some really interesting sort of like upcycling stuff as well, so give us a little bit of blurb on that too.
Okay. I first started making jewellery, but I went to Malaysia years ago after uni, and just found a bead shop and basically moved in for 2 days. I bought loads of kit, and then when I came home, I started making it to sell a little bit. And I just kind of worked, from learning how to make it, I learned how to repair it, basically. I don't do very much of it these days, so if I'm a bit fumble fingered trying to show you what I'm doing, it's because my brain knows how to do it, but my hands have kind of forgotten. But because more recently I've been doing more upcycle things, so making, for example, handbags I make out of inner tubes, like tractor inner tubes. I make wallets out of bike tire inner tubes, and belts out of bike tires. What else do I do? I'm doing a bit of copper clay lately, which is fun. Yeah, so I'm a bit of a dabbler, really.
Yeah, no, it sounds awesome. We love a bit of reuse, you know that. Yeah. Okay, fab. So I know that. So I've obviously got a broken necklace. Phoebe, have you got anything broken as well, or are you just watching? You've got a broken necklace too. Okay. So Han, do you want to sort of kick off and show us, some of the examples that you've got there, and then perhaps Phoebe and I can sort of step in a bit later and just show you what we've got and see if you can give us any advice.
Yeah, sure. So I've got a couple of different things which I've had broken in a drawer for ages, which I probably should have fixed, but it's a good thing I didn't, because now I can, show you how to fix them. So I'm going to switch to my other camera so you can see. Okay, so I've got here. This is a bracelet from a charity shop. This is quite a common kind of break. So what happens? I hope you can see this okay. So often with bracelets, you'll get a sort of thing where you've got a link with a bead in the middle, and then it's like a little stick basically, and it's got a bead in the middle, a loop at each end. It's very easy for those loops to pull open, and it's something which when I've volunteered at repair cafes, it's something which comes up quite a lot. It's just literally a ring that's been pulled open. So to fix that, you need something like these, which are blunt nose pliers or round-ended pliers or jewelry pliers. If you don't have these, just a small set of like electrical pliers will actually do the job. You won't get quite such a neat circle, but to be honest, probably no one will ever notice. So I'll show you with the round-ended ones just because it's easier. So what you want to do is just close this loop back up. So you
bring your fingers slightly down, my love.
Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so you grip the end of the wire where it's pulled apart, and you just roll it back in. And then just before it meets where it needs to be, you need to reinsert the thing that it's going to hook onto. So you've got a little chain link there, so you just need to hook it onto there. You see that okay? And then I'm going to use the electrical pliers for this, because actually the grips on them are quite handy for just closing the loop. So you just want to close the loop there. And it's a little bit fiddly, but that's the worst of it. It's just a bit fiddly. So you want to make that nice and tight so that's closed. So that is a bracelet fixed. So that's very simple. And like I say, that's one of the most common things by the looks of it. Karis, I wonder if that's what's wrong with yours, but we'll have a look at that in a minute. So that's sure. That one. I know someone on the when you started organising this said they'd got a bracelet that needed rethreading. So quite often bracelets are on this very, very fine sort of plastic wire. And they've got these little things here. You'll see this little squished bit here at the end. That's called a crimp bead. So what that is a very, very thin loop of metal that you can thread things into, and then you squeeze it closed, and it basically crimps and clamps it and holds it in place. But quite commonly they can pull out. So in the past I've done things like spend 3 hours trying to just fix that. It's actually a lot easier just to rethread the whole thing if you've got the tools at hand. So I won't show you rethreading the whole thing because it'll take a while, but what you'd want to do is open up the crimp bead by just squeezing it the reverse way of what it is. So it's squashed flat, so you want to squeeze from the two flattened ends to open it out again, and then you want to pull it off. You could cut it, but then your beads would shoot off everywhere, so you just want to really carefully pull that one off. And then I've got some very fine plastic wire here. If you don't have this, you could use say embroidery thread, or what you can use will basically be determined by the size of the holes in the bead. So if you've got nice thick beads, you can get away with most things. This has got seed beads, so these tiny little ones here are called seed beads. They're very small, so you would probably need some kind of plastic wire to thread them onto. So I would keep them on.
Presumably that sort of plastic wire has serious longevity as well.
It's pretty good, yeah. It does last a long time. So I'm keeping this on the same thread just because it's a lot easier to stop the beads going shooting everywhere. So I'll thread it through a few of them, and then I'll move it onto the new thread. You just do that all the way along.
So you push it in where the old thread is.
Push it in where the old thread is, because then you don't lose your bead. So you can, if you're careful, you might even be able to follow it all the way along.
Sure.
At some point, probably what will happen is you'll slip and all the beads will go shooting off everywhere anyway. So if it's a particularly complicated design, or you want to make sure it's exactly the same when you've rethreaded it, I would advise just taking a photo and preparing for a long session of rethreading. But it's quite satisfying. Just make sure you don't hunch over for too long, because you can really hurt your back and your neck, which is probably why I don't do so much jewellery these days.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going quite quick, so I will just rethread the whole thing, and then I'll show you how to do the crimp bead thing. So you do really need some specialist stuff for this, because if with the plastic threads and tiger tail, which is another kind of so this is a plastic coated wire, which is really, really good, much stronger, lasts forever basically. If you just tie them off, what you'll end up with is a little spike, which will basically stab you and be really, really annoying. So you won't actually ever want to wear the piece of jewelry again. So it is worth having these little crimp beads. If anyone is watching this in the future and wants any, I really don't use my stuff very much these days, so I'm very happy to just chuck you a couple of crimp beads in the post, because, yeah, and thread as well for that matter. So if anyone's got a piece of jewellery they want fixed, just get in touch. Have you tagged me in the event?
Yeah.
Cool. Right, nearly there now.
That's brilliant. I think I bought jewellery with that little scratchy thing on the end.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
Yeah.
So what you can do with the crimp beads, because it puts it back against the other thread, you can tuck it back in, and you can tend to make it a lot more comfortable. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that off. That bit's going to go in the bin. Now the other end has been lost. The other end of this, it's one of the kind of ones, I can't remember what they're called, but little clasps that go through. I'm a big fan of cannibalizing jewelry you're not going to use anymore, but I do have spares of those, so I'm just going to grab another of the bars that goes through it, so we'll get a matching pair. So these look like this, and then they'll go onto the thread, and that'll go through there and hold it in place basically.
Yeah.
Can't show you till it's attached actually. Okay, and these are the crimp beads. So it's just a little bit of metal that folds over.
Just keep it really still, Han.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So a few different sorts of these. These are better for things like thong, like this sort of string, because what you want is something that goes on the end and closes over and then gives you a loop. With this plastic thread, you're actually better with something like this. It's very, very tiny. They look like tiny silver beads, but actually they're squishable. So you can get one of these, pick up your thread, so you thread that through there, and then you're going to pop the one of the clasp ends on. So that's going to go there. You're going to fold the wire back through the bead. So can you see that? So you've got the bead, got the wire, and then you've got the clasp. So you want to put it quite close, but not, you want to have a little bit of give there. So push the crimp bead up towards the toggle clasp, and then you just want to squeeze quite hard.
And presumably at this point you don't need your beads right up to that bit, because you're going to do that the other end.
Yeah, you push your beads back. The other end's a bit more fiddly because you need to obviously you need to have it flush. Sure. Okay, so that's there, and then you want to thread your beads so they're going back over this this spiky bit. The longer it is, the better it stays in place. So don't be tempted to cut it really short. It doesn't matter how much of it folds back inside the beads. I found leaving a slightly longer one tends to keep it in place slightly better, because it's got more space to sort of stay flush together, whereas if it's cut close, it quite often be like being forced to splay out sideways, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, this is not the most exciting exciting repair in the world.
It's really interesting. It's one of those things where you never even begin to think about how something is made, and it's just making it it's so simple.
Yeah, it really is. It's so easy. Like the amount of times someone's turned up with 7 pieces of jewelry and been like, oh, you're never going to have time to do this, and they come back like 20 minutes later and it's all done. Because it's just a case of replacing one link or putting on a what are they called, lobster clasps. So I'll show you those in a minute. They break all the time. They're rubbish. Right, so I'm going to cut it off. So I've got a bit of space here to thread back through. Take one more of my little crimp beads. I'm going to pop that one in there. Get my other end piece. Remember to put your end piece on, or you're going to be really annoyed because you'll have to go through it all over again. And then again, I'm going to thread back through the bead, and then back through 4 or 5 of the like the beads on the bracelet as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, you want to give it a bit of room. So for this end, you're going to need to pull it really, really tight to cut it off, and then hopefully the spiky end will sort of deliver itself back inside one of the other beads, so it's not going to be spiking you. So can you see that I've gone through 3 big beads and 3 little beads? I'm going to cut it first, and then I'm going to crimp it. Okay, so cut it here. Doesn't need to be super flush to where it's going to be, because when you crimp it, you're going to pull it back ever so slightly. Okay, so pull it back slightly. So you've got that little bit of give there, and then you're going to close your crimp. Nice big squeeze. So you want the crimp to be nice and flush to the first bead of the bracelet, because that'll stop the thread having room to sort of, the spiky end I was talking about. Give it room to not give it room to escape, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Okay,
so you're going to squeeze them really hard. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then you're fixed.
Magic. Well done. Thank you.
Okay, so that's 2 very common problems. One other one I was going to show you is sort of a bit of upcycling, actually. So I don't know where this came from. I don't know where the other half is. Basically, it's a series of leaps which are linked together, but the link, this piece here, is actually soldered on. So it's a bit of metal soldered onto the back of the bead, which hooks onto the next bead. So each of these leaves has got a little hole in it that has hooked through that, but it's all made in one go, sort of thing. Like, you can't just put in a new link.
No.
So what I thought I would do is turn this into a more sort of asymmetrical necklace. So I've snapped this back as far as I can. It's not very strong metal or anything. I don't know what it's made out of, but you might want to give it a bit of a squidge to make sure there's no sharp bits. If you've got a Dremel or a bit of sandpaper or something, you might even want to sand it off a bit. You just have to wear it and see if it's going to be uncomfortable or not.
Mm-hmm.
I've got that. I'm just going to literally just make it into an asymmetrical necklace. So I've got some old chain, again, I have no idea where that came from. And then you need one of these little things which is called a jump ring. So those are basically your bread and butter for jewelry making. They're just the little rings that hold everything together. They come in lots of different shapes and sizes and materials. Some are double, which are a lot stronger, and I cannot for the life of me find my double ones, so I'm just going to do single ones. Double ones are a lot more fiddly anyway, because you have to go around everything twice. So it's like, on a key ring, you've got the circles of metal.
Yeah.
There's basically small ones of those, but this is just a single jump ring. Okay. So I'm hoping this one's big enough. So this is fiddly, and ideally you want 2 pairs of pliers. So I'm going to hold it with one, and I'm going to open it up with the other one. So all chains are made out of these little links, basically. So they might be different shapes. They might be slightly wiggly. They can look quite different, but it's just links. It's as simple as that. It's just a closed circle that you need to open up. Sure. So I'm going to hook that through here. Hopefully it's big enough, because my camera's resting on my other set of jump rings. I'm going to take this chain here. I'm just going to hook it on there. And then taking my pliers again. Can you see that right? I'm literally just closing that circle. There we go. So obviously you need to sort of measure that up against yourself, see how it's going to sit. It's quite short as it stands. So what I'd probably also do is open the end up where the clasp is. And just transfer some of the chain. Oh, that's a super strong jump ring. It's not going anywhere. So, right, so I've got my necklace. So I've got this much chain. So basically I want probably half of that to end up on this side. Yeah. So I'm going to break the chain here. So again, it's just made out of tiny little links. This one is actually, I think it's actually been soldered together, so I'm actually going to have to cut through one of the chains because they're not open links. So I'm just going to cut through that with my pliers, break that one off, and then attach to the link that I opened up earlier. What's going on here? So there's an extra link here. I'll take that one off and go there. Right, so I'm going to hook that through that new bit of chain, close that, Okay, so then if I was to wear that, it would sit sit nice and evenly with the fastening at the back.
Yeah.
So on a fastening, again, if you don't have spare jump rings, you probably have a necklace that you never wear. So sorry, not jump rings, lobster clasps. You probably have a necklace that you never wear. So you can just take a, I think most of these are recycled ones actually. So you can just take one of these lobster clasps off something else.
Mm.
So they just open like that. Cheap ones break very easily. So like I was saying, that's something I find very often. Someone will turn up and say my clasp is broken. Usually looks something like this, like the whole of the top can snap off. They're just made out of really cheap, horrible metal a lot of the time. So you literally just open up a ring and just replace it with one off something else. Or you can buy a packet of lobster clasps for about £1 on eBay. Okay, so got my lobster clasp. Need to open up the jump ring a little bit more. So if you've got strong nails, you can just do it with your nails. It's easier with 2 pairs of pliers, but most people don't have 2 small pairs of pliers kicking around. So teeth also work. Necessarily advise it, but each their own. I've done it many times. It's probably not very good for your teeth or hygiene, but there you go. Okay, so we're just going to close that there. Okay, there we go. So then you'd probably want to put a bigger jump ring on there as well, just to finish it off, so that when you're putting it on, it's easier. But it does fit through there, so you've got a nice asymmetrical necklace that you can wear.
Very cool.
I'll put on, so when it comes back to me, you'll be able to see it in action.
Yeah, nice. Okay, that sounds awesome.
Cool.
Fabulous stuff.
So, did you say that you had something you wanted me to advise you on, Karis and Phoebe?
So I don't know if I didn't mention this, did I? But if you want to pin a screen, just hover over me. There should be 3 dots, and if you just click on the 3 dots and go to pin, hopefully I can show you my necklace a bit closer up.
Okay, I think you are pinned, but it's just saying CJ, so I can't see you.
Oh,
Is your camera off?
That's somebody else. Sorry.
Oh.
Can you see me?
That's Karis Jones.
Oh, that's weird. Can you see me, Phoebes?
Yeah, I can see you.
That's so strange. Oh, no.
I've got you pinned.
That's weird. What's happened? Where's she gone?
Sorry about that. I just tried to phone you through the meeting thing.
Right.
So yeah, you are on my screen, but oh, hang on.
Can you see that?
As well. Yeah, you are pinned, but I've just got a circle which says CJ in the middle.
Okay. Can you? So you can't see this, can you?
I can just see CJ. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I tell you what. Let's move to Phoebe, and hopefully Phoebe can show us hers instead.
I think mine is just the ring event. So it's, can you see this? It's really tiny, but it's this bit. Oh, hang on. This bit here. That's ring.
I can't see you either. Sorry, Phoebe.
Oh. Can you see me?
Have we just lost all images?
You're both just little circles with your initials in.
Oh, that's such a shame. Probably because the internet connection isn't brilliant.
Is that what it is?
I think it probably is. I'll sort of show. What I'll do is I'll sort of show my issue to the screen, and what I'll do then is I'll send you a picture, and we could post it in the event later, and you can maybe just
brilliant. You're gonna send it to me on Messenger or something?
Yeah, I think based on what you've said, I think I can see the problem. It's not so much the ring that's broken. I think, like you said, one of the chain sections has broken off.
Okay.
But it is minuscule.
Okay.
I might need a microscope. What about you, Phoebes?
I think one of my chain loops has just come out of the other one, and I think I can do it with my nails because it's so thin and
oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so I think it's the same as one of the earlier ones you did.
Okay, so it's just a broken broken link or something.
Did you just fix it?
Yeah, I just fixed it.
Yay!
Can you show us a close-up of the actual thing that you just fixed?
So I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
And this jump ring here, I just opened it with my nails and then threaded this back through, and then I just need to close it again.
That's awesome.
Brilliant.
So common. And Hannah, do you want to come back to you now?
Okay, yep.
Just
Do you want me to do something else, or?
well, I was just going to ask if somebody wanted to access all of these little bits and bobs that you've got. I mean, obviously you can collate them from Broken Jewellery over the years, but if somebody was keen to get out there and sort of buy something, are there easy places to get all the little bits and bobs from?
Yeah, I mean, I mostly use eBay. There are a couple of bead shops in town, but try bringing toddlers to a bead shop. It's yeah, very terrible idea. But if you don't have toddlers, by all means, support local businesses. It's just tricky with children to go in them. But yeah, it's a lot of fun actually. And if you're just starting off, it's a better way of doing it. Like I said, I started just because I found a bead shop in Malaysia. But it is a better way of doing it because the shopkeepers will know what you're after and be able to help you out a lot more as well, and advise you on sort of what materials are suitable for what kinds of things you want to do. I know there's one in the arcade. Oh, terrible with all the names. It's the one near the castle. Might be called Castle Arcade.
Yeah, opposite.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could just pop in there and they can sort you out with the bits and pieces. And yeah, like I said, I'm always happy to, pop a couple of jump rings if it's just a repair you want to do. If it's one thing, it's usually you buy these these little things, you're buying a packet of 100 or something, and maybe only need 2 if it's not something you ever think you're going to use again. So by all means, give me a shout. But yeah, it's all quite easily available, cheap as well. They're the bits and pieces are very cheap. Like if you wanted to say if you just had some stuff you had a few bracelets you wanted to rethread, you could probably buy like the plastic thread and the crimp beads and a packet of jump rings and a packet of lobster clasps for under £5. Most of them have got free postage as well. If you're doing it online, it is super cheap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's mega. Yeah, revelatory actually. I said this on some of our sessions before, but I can't believe how easy it is.
Yeah, it really is. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
All right, brilliant. And is there anything else that you want to run through, or any advice that you want to give before we close down?
I won't worry about showing you anything else because I mean mostly it's just sort of playing around and trying different things and seeing what you've got available to you and using it. I know John mentioned some people might be interested in how to clean jewellery at home. Copper and silver jewellery, definitely copper. I'll double check on silver, but copper jewellery, the best way to clean it is literally just lemon juice and salt. So you make a little solution of lemon juice and salt and you rub it over the copper, and it comes out really, really lovely. I should have set myself up to show you how nice it is, but yeah, I forgot to bring those things along. But there's a lot of things you'll find around the house that you can use. Bicarbonate of soda is also good for cleaning a lot of things. Obviously anything that's sort of antique or valuable or sentimental value, I'd recommend just making sure, just checking a few different sites to make sure that you're using the right materials to clean them, because you don't want to do any damage to anything. Yeah.
Do you want to switch your camera back so we can see your lovely face?
Oh yeah. My asymmetrical necklace.
I think
there we go.
Something that hello. Yes, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. It's quite cool, isn't it? I might wear it.
That's very cool. What I was going to say, something that you and I have spoken about before that I think we had to end up Googling, and I actually can't flipping remember what the answer was now, but my jewellery, some of my silver jewellery goes almost like dirty. I don't know if it's exposed to air and I should be keeping it in boxes, but I've got a hanging up jewellery thingy, and it just ends up going really black and annoying. And I know
we did Google it. I've got a feeling it was lemon juice and salt again.
I think you might be right.
Yeah. So the salt's like a nice gentle abrasive, and then the lemon juice, I think maybe the acidity does something. As you can tell, I'm no expert. I tend to, it's amazing what you've got around the house that you can use to make things look a lot newer. That
solution, is it just like half a lemon and a quarter teaspoon?
Just enough to make it into a paste.
Oh, so, right.
A little squirt of lemon juice into a teaspoon of salt. You don't need a vast amount. I'm pretty sure Coke would clean a lot of things as well. It's good for toilet bowls apparently, and also cleaning blood off roads. So you can probably use it to clean the jewelry as well.
So I good. Okay, that's absolutely brilliant. Phoebes, have you got any questions?
No, I don't think so. I just can't believe how quick it was to fix this necklace.
Okay, that's
crazy.
Job done, really, isn't it?
Cool.
The only question is, I've got quite a lot of quite cheap jewellery, and it often goes like a kind of bluey green colour when it gets wet for periods of time. Is there any way of stopping that, or do I just need to buy more expensive jewellery?
Yeah, I think it's just it's the metal. Some metals are they're just not very nice. They tend to go, I can't remember, is it nickel they might have in them? I can never remember what it is that's in them that makes them do that. Is it bronze? I know statues they go green, don't they, in the rain?
Yeah, and sometimes with rings as well, it makes your fingers go green.
Yeah, it can do. And I think it's like with copper, for example, it's strange. It seems that some people are more susceptible to it than others. So I don't know if it's to do with like the amount you sweat or like what's in your sweat. Like I think some people just they can't wear copper because they just go green, and then other people can get away with it. So yeah, I would recommend just taking it off. If you're going to wash your hands and you're wearing those kind of rings, best bet is just to take them off, to be honest.
I know this is a bit aesthetically maybe messing them up, but what if you painted clear nail varnish on the inside of the rings?
I've never tried. I don't know. Sorry, but possibly. Yeah, I can't see it would do any harm. I'm not sure it would last all that long. Because if you think if you're wearing nail varnish, it chips off over time. So
it might.
It might not
as well. It would look crap because I would be all over the place trying to get that nail varnish in there. Good. All right. That's really, really brilliant, and really appreciate it. So thank you very much, both.
No worries. Nice to see you.
You too.
Take care. Bye.